Welcome to PowerShell Day 2. Today we'll go over useful techniques, and then flow control, and then loops. So before we jump into this, let's go ahead and do a quick quiz and review what we went over yesterday. Let's go ahead and pause this and try to answer them, and then I'll go over them. Alright, so number one, what are the four variable types we went over? So we've got Boolean, numbers, array, and strings. Alright, so number two, what is the percent operator and what does it do? So this is called modulus and it gives you the remainder. Number three, strings use what characters at the beginning and end of the text? So these are quotation marks. Number four, what logical operator returns true when either statement is true? That is the OR operator. Number five, what logical operator returns true when both statements are true? That is the AND operator. Number six, what logical operator returns true when one and only one statement is true? That is the XOR or exclusive OR operator. And then number seven, if I want to view the fourth item in an array, what index number should I choose? That would be index 3. And then number 8, if there are 19 items in the array, what will the length operator return? That will be 19. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into today's material. So the first thing we'll go over is useful techniques for flow control. So first will be how do we save and run scripts in ISE. Next will be reading errors. So how do we read an error and figure out what to fix in that error? Next we'll talk about changing directories, then writing or outputting to the screen. Then we'll talk about creating text files, and then writing to the text files, reading those text files, and then finally we'll go over user input and asking the user to input information and collect it inside of PowerShell. Alright, so here's just a quick recap of PowerShell ISE and a few things you can do inside of it. So up here we've got the play button, and that is going to actually run the script that you would type from up here and output it to the console. And then we have open up the script pane using the button in the top right corner. So in the top right, you're going to have this script pane, this little arrow, and that's going to actually bring this down into here, or on the right side, however you prefer it. Alright, so I'll go ahead and get into error reading now. So whenever you're writing scripts, an error is going to be common. It's going to happen here. Most likely going to mess up or something's not going to be right. So PowerShell will provide a lot of information when there are errors and help you try to figure out where to go to fix it. So notice here in this example, we've got while x is less than 10, it's going to try to go and do something. And so it's going to give us an error there. And you see the term x is not recognized as the name of a commandlet. And so here it shows at line 2, character 8. So we've got line 2 there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it actually shows us the exact spot where the error is. You can see there it's in blue. So the problem here was that we forgot the $sign, because it's trying to compare a variable, not just x, because x, again, is not the name of a commandlet. We're trying to compare a variable here. So with the basic information there, troubleshooting will be a lot easier, especially when you get much longer scripts. Like here, this is only 5 lines, but when you're working with 100 plus lines, it can be very difficult to find where it's at. So again, PowerShell shows you the line and character where the errors are, and that can be very helpful. All right, now let's go ahead and get into changing directories. So understanding how to change the directory or folders in PowerShell is very important when becoming a PowerShell programmer. So, and again, there's a lot of different ways to do things in PowerShell. There's often going to be different aliases for one thing. So for instance here, if we're setting the location, another way of doing it, you can put SL or CD or CHDIR, which stands for change directory. And then down here we've got CD and then 2 dots afterward. And what that's going to do is change the directory by moving up 1 directory. And then here we've got CD and then the tilde character. And what that's going to do is change to your home directory. And again, here we've got set location path C Windows. So that's going to change the directory to your C Windows directory there. And then we've got get child item, which again, we have multiple aliases for here. We have GCI, LS, or DIR. And what get child item does is it lists the files and folders in the current directory. Okay, so now I'll show some examples in how to change directories. So the first thing we see here, notice, is on the top left here that we're in C drive, users, and then the ZOLNI folder. So let's say we want to go up one directory. So to do that, we do cd dot dot. So now we're in the users folder. All right, so let's go up another one. Now we're in the C drive. Now notice you can't go up anymore. You can only go up to the C drive. Okay. So now let's go back to our home directory. Let's do cd tilde. It puts us back to where we were. Okay. So now let's use the set location. We've got set location. We'll do path and then C and then backslash. So there we go. Now send us to the C drive location that we wanted to go to. All right, so now let's go into the users file. We've got cd, and to do this we can go, let's go cd users. I'm just typing user here. I'm just going to press tab and it's going to auto-complete it for me there. So now it puts me into the users file. All right, now let's see what's in this folder, right? So we've got, to do that, we do get child item. And again, there I'm using tab to autocomplete here, so it shows me the different directories I've got. So I've got the public directory and then the ZOLNI directory as well. So now let's go into the ZOLNI directory. So again, cd. We just can tab to find it, and there we go. And so there we go, it puts us back to where we want it to be. Now I'll go over creating new files and folders. So for this, you use the command new item. The alias for this is ni, which makes sense, it just stands for new item. So this will help you create files and folders. The syntax for this is below here. So really, the only difference between making a file and a directory or folder is the item type that you put at the end here. So you've got new item, name, and then whatever you want the file name, .txt to be, and then tag item type, and then file, and then the same thing down here. You would just do the folder name and then item type directory. Alright, so now I'll go over writing to the screen. So to write to the PowerShell screen, we can use the following commands and aliases. So first we have write output. Some of the aliases for this are write or echo, and just nothing if you just put quotation marks, like here at the end, hello world with quotation marks. So again, here we've got write output hello world, we have write hello world, echo hello world, and again here at the end, quotation marks hello world. So all four of these commands will output the same function of outputting hello world to the screen. So most PowerShell commands have defined aliases. We'll discuss those as we look at additional commands. Alright, so now I'm back in the ISE here, and I'm going to go and show you guys some examples here. So here's the first one, write hello world. So when I click play here, it outputs hello world. Let's go ahead and put CLS at the top here. This is what I like to do so it doesn't print out this part of the code right here. So as you can see here, it just prints out hello world. Now we can do write host. Again, same thing, just prints out hello world. We can do write output. Again, hello world. And then we have echo. again, the same thing. And then lastly, just nothing there, just in quotes, it will print out hello world. Alright, so now I'll go over creating and writing to a text file. So as we get further into this lesson, you'll start to make some useful scripts, and you'll be able to write to files to make scripts even more useful. So first here we've got the right angle bracket or greater than sign, and this will create a text file and overwrite whatever is stored with the new information. So for instance, let's say this text file already exists. This will overwrite it and create a new one with whatever you're trying to put in there. So again, here you've got, here what it's doing is it's taking the variable text and then it creates the file file.txt with the variable name value written inside. It's going to overwrite the file.txt if it already exists. If not, it will create a new one. So whatever's in this text variable, let's say it's hello world, it will create this new file with hello world in it. And we've got the double right angle bracket, and this appends whatever is stored inside the variable to the file. So let's say up here, we've got text, and it's going to create the new one, and then we want to add to it, we'd put whatever variable we want into here with the double right angle bracket. So again, here it's taking the variable text and adding it to the file called file.txt. If this file doesn't already exist, it will create it. But if it does exist, then it's only going to add to it, as opposed to the top one up here, it will overwrite it if it already exists. Alright, so now I'll go ahead and show an example of this. So I'm in my D drive here, dummy.dir, and then my PowerShell folder here. So let's go ahead and see what's in this directory here with the get child item. So we can see we've got some projects, some videos, scripting, quizzes. Alright, here we've got text.txt, so it already exists. So let's go ahead and let's see what's in that text file. So we're going to do get content text.txt. Alright, so there's nothing in that file, so let's go ahead and add something to it. So let's do $text equals hello world. Go ahead and make sure that worked. Alright, so hello world is inside the variable text. So now let's add that to text.txt. So now let's go ahead and get content of this again. So I'm just going to use my up arrow. So now we can see this is added hello world to text.txt. Alright, so now let's say we don't want what's ever in there and we want to go ahead and overwrite it. So we would do null. So this again stands for nothing. And then we're going to use the one bracket or greater than sign here. And then again, text.txt. So now we go and we get content. We can see again, nothing's in there now. Alright, so again here, this is just kind of reiterating what I've went over. So redirection is just a way to tell PowerShell to take the results of a command and put them somewhere other than in the PowerShell window. So for instance here we've got write PowerShell is melting my brain, and we've got the one greater than sign there, file.txt. So this is just going to go and write this into that file, and it wouldn't actually display anything in our console pane. It would just replace whatever's in this file. And then we've got write it's not that bad with the two greater than signs, file.txt. So this would just add to that one, and now file.txt would contain both of these strings inside of it. So I sort of showed an example of this earlier when I was looking at what was inside of the text file that I was creating in my example. But so here's how you read files. You do this with get content, and here's the aliases for it. We have gc, cat, and type. So any of these will do the same thing as get content. So here's what we did on the previous slide. File.txt, we've got these strings inside of there. So in order to get those, you would just type get content, and then file.txt. So in order to read information from a text file and store it in an array, you'd use the following. So here we're creating a blank array, and then array equals get content file name.txt. So here we'd be adding what is in this file name, and we'd be storing it in an array named $array here at the variable. Alright, so now what I'd like you to do is go ahead and open up PowerShell. Go ahead and attempt these examples so you can get kind of used to the syntax and how everything works with it. So go ahead and pause the video and do these on your own. Alright, so another important aspect of programming is taking input from the user. Now, I slightly covered this yesterday, but I'll go a little bit more into detail here now about it. So the user input command is called read host. So read host is followed by a string enclosed in quotation marks stating what the user should input. This allows the program to further interact with the end user. So here's an example. We've got our variable answer equals read host ask the user a question. So what this is going to do is it's going to output just ask the user a question. So then we'll do that, and then whatever the end user inputs will be stored into the variable answer. So here it shows what the output would be, ask the user a question. And again, the user would just enter it in here, and then it would store it into the answer variable. Right, so now I'll go over some options to store a number inside of these when using read host. So this is a common thing I see go wrong a lot of times, is that people forget how to do this. So really make sure you take note of this. So your first option is putting integer before age here. So let's say we're trying to get an age from the user here. So we're doing age equals read host, please enter your age. So if I don't put int before this, it will save it as a string. So read host by default is a string, but you can make sure it's going to be a number here by putting int in front of it. And then we've got option 2 here. You can put int before the read host here, and then put read host in the parentheses. So option 2 is handy when you're saving multiple numbers into an array. So for instance, here we've got an array, my array, creating that blank one. And then in the for loop, we're adding a please enter your number. We're asking the user to enter numbers into the array here. And it's going to do it. It's going to loop here, and I'll go a little bit more into detail later in the loops. But basically, this would run multiple times and continue to put numbers into this array here. And since you've got the integer, it's actually going to take it as an integer 32 type. All right, so here's another example for something we can do with the read host command. So let's say we're trying to get a password from the user. So what you would do in order to sort of encrypt that is at the end here, you would put as secure string. So again, here we've got the variable pwd stands for password equals read host, enter a password. So whatever the user inputs will be stored into this password variable. And whenever you enter it here, it will kind of blur it out here, and then it won't show it. So if you try to display the password variable, this is how it's going to display and show you that it is a secure string. Alright, so now I'll go ahead and show you guys more of how the read host command works. So first here I've got set up num equals read host, please enter a number. So go ahead and run this. Please enter a number. Okay, let's enter 5. So now if I display that number, 5, right? However, again, num.getType, let's check the type of it. It is a string, see? So it defaults to a string here. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's add int before it. And go ahead and run this. It's going to say please enter a number. So now let's do 7. Go ahead and check that. Num7. All right. Let's do num.getType. And there it is. Now it's an integer 32. All right. So now if you wanted to have, let's say, name equals read host, please enter your name. Let's go ahead and comment this line out. So show you an example of how it's not going to run. Just going to run please enter your name. So type in Chris and name. There we go. It's going to be Chris and then name.getType. Let's go ahead and make sure. There we go. It is a string variable type. And then now let's go and show you the example of the secure string. So we've got password equals read host. Please enter a password. And we'll put as secure string at the end there. I'm going to comment this line out. I'm going to run this. See, it actually comes up with a prompt here. Please enter your password. So I'll type in a password there. And so now, if I type in the variable password, there we go, just output system security secure string. So just go and recap what I've gone over so far today. Went through saving and running scripts using ISE, went through reading errors, changing directories, outputting or printing to the screen, went over creating text files, writing to those text files, reading those files, and then finally user input.